In the vast library ship orbiting Earth, lead researcher Ben and his team of alien scientists pored over Earth's historical records. Their massive screens displayed countless images and videos from human history, each more bewildering than the last. "Look at this," Ben called to his assistant Jim, pointing at a scene from ancient farming communities. They turned their farming tools, plows, scythes, even simple hoes, into weapons during revolts, but then immediately returned to farming with them afterward. Jim floated closer, his blue skin glowing under the library's soft lights. "That's not even the most interesting part. Watch this footage from their sporting events." The screen showed a baseball game. "See, they hit a small ball with a wooden stick for entertainment," Jim explained. "But in their historical records, similar clubs have been used as weapons countless times. They even have a popular entertainment series about someone using a bat as a weapon against hostile creatures." Ben made more notes in his floating tablet. The pattern is consistent across their entire history. Even their earliest ancestors turned stones and sticks into tools, then weapons, then back to tools. Their research was interrupted by senior observer May, who had just returned from the diplomatic meeting on Earth. She glided into the library ship's main chamber, her expression troubled. "Any new insights?" she asked, looking at the walls of data surrounding them. Ben nodded enthusiastically. "We found something remarkable. Humans don't just turn things into weapons out of aggression. They do it out of necessity, creativity, and most importantly, adaptation." He pulled up a new series of images. "Look at this timeline. When they discovered the power of the atom, their first major use was destructive, the atomic bomb. But within years, they were using the same technology for power generation, medical treatment, and space exploration." May moved closer to the displays, her large eyes reflecting the changing images. "But doesn't this make them dangerous? A species that can see weapons in everything." Jim spoke up, surprising both his colleagues. "I don't think that's the right question. Look at this." He brought up footage from a human emergency response team. Here, they turned construction equipment into rescue tools. They transformed weapons into art pieces. They seem to be able to turn anything into anything else they need at the moment. Ben added more notations to his research. "It's like they have this extraordinary ability to see multiple possibilities in everything around them. Yes, they can see how to turn a simple writing tool into a weapon, but they can also turn a weapon into a tool for peace." The three aliens watched as more historical footage played across the screens. They saw humans turn swords into plowshares, spears into pruning hooks, and military vehicles into emergency rescue equipment. "Their adaptability is unprecedented," Ben concluded. "No other species we've encountered can reshape their understanding of objects so quickly and completely." May floated in silence for a moment, considering. "The Council needs to know about this, but how do we explain it without causing panic? Many will only see the weapon aspect." "Perhaps," Jim suggested, "we should show them this." He brought up footage of a human art exhibition, where old weapons had been transformed into beautiful sculptures. They don't just see weapons and tools. They see tools and weapons, art in tools, and possibilities in everything. Ben worked quickly on his tablet, compiling their findings. Their creativity is their true power. Yes, they can turn anything into a weapon if threatened, but they can also turn anything into a tool for survival, progress, or beauty. It's not about violence. It's about seeing all possibilities. May nodded slowly. "Continue your research. The Council meets in 3 days to discuss Earth's application to join the galactic community. We need to help them understand that this human trait, while initially frightening, might be exactly what our civilization needs." As the three aliens continued their study, screams of human history floated around them, telling the story of a species that didn't just see things for what they were, but for what they could become, for better or worse. It wasn't just about turning things into weapons. It was about turning anything into whatever was needed most at the time. This realization would change how the galaxy viewed humanity forever. The silver ship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a gentle snowflake, carrying within it beings who had never set foot on humanity's homeworld. The alien vessel, representing the Galactic Council, chose to land on the specially prepared diplomatic grounds in Geneva, Switzerland. Ambassador Tom Reed stood straight, his weathered face showing no emotion as the ship's door opened with a soft hiss. He had been chosen for his calm demeanor and diplomatic experience, though even he felt his heart race at this historic moment. The aliens that emerged looked almost like tall, slender humans, except for their light blue skin and large eyes. Their leader, who called himself First Speaker Ray, having chosen an Earth name for easier communication, stepped forward with graceful movements. "We come in peace," Ray spoke through their universal translator, extending both hands in what their research had shown to be a non-threatening gesture. "The Galactic Council welcomes dialogue with Earth." Tom stepped forward, offering a warm smile. "Earth welcomes you, First Speaker Ray. We have prepared a meeting room where we can discuss our potential future together." As they walked toward the diplomatic building, one of the alien delegates, who introduced herself as Observer May, noticed Tom carrying the simple metal pen. Her scanning device hummed softly as she studied it. Ambassador Reed, May spoke with genuine curiosity. "I notice you carry a writing tool. Our scans show it's made of metal and plastic, with a sharp point. Is this not dangerous to carry into diplomatic meetings?" Tom looked at the pen in his hand and smiled. It's just a regular pen. We use it to write and sign documents." May's large eyes blinked rapidly. "But it could also be used as a stabbing weapon, could it not?" The human ambassador paused, considering the question. "Well, technically, yes. But that's not its purpose. It's a tool for writing." The alien delegation exchanged worried glances. First Speaker Ray stepped closer, his tall frame looming over Tom. "We have studied your species from afar. You seem to see dual purposes in everything. A kitchen knife for cooking becomes a weapon. A walking stick becomes a club. Even your sports equipment can be used to cause harm. Why does your species think this way?" Tom thought carefully before answering. "It's not that we want to turn everything into weapons. It's that we've learned through our history to be prepared. Sometimes survival depends on using whatever is available." To demonstrate, Tom took out his pen and a piece of paper. "Look, this pen's primary purpose is communication. I can write peace treaties with it." He wrote the words, "Peace between Earth and the Galactic Council," in clear letters. But yes, in an emergency, it could be used for defense. This dual-nature thinking has helped us survive as a species. The aliens huddled together, speaking in soft tones. When they turned back, First Speaker Ray looked troubled. "In all our galactic surveys, we've never encountered a species that thinks quite like yours. Most beings see things for their primary purpose only. A chair is for sitting. A table is for placing items. But you humans, we see possibilities." Tom finished the sentence. "It's not about violence, First Speaker. It's about adaptation and survival. The same creativity that lets us see a pen as a potential weapon also lets us turn swords into plowshares. We can turn weapons into tools just as easily." This seemed to intrigue the aliens. Observer May made some notes on her floating tablet. "Fascinating. They don't just turn tools into weapons, but also weapons into tools. Perhaps this indicates a deeper pattern of adaptive thinking." As they entered the meeting room, First Speaker Ray turned to Tom. "We have much to discuss, Ambassador Reed. Your species is both fascinating and concerning to us. But perhaps this unique way of thinking could bring something new to the Galactic Council." Tom placed his pen on the conference table, right next to the peace treaty draft. "That's what we're here to explore, First Speaker. Together." The first diplomatic meeting between Earth and the Galactic Council began. While the aliens kept casting curious glances at the simple pen on the table, now seeing it, and humanity, in a completely new light. The emergency alert echoed through the Galactic Council's chambers as reports flooded in from the outer colonies. The Grey Fleet, a hostile alien force from beyond known space, had launched a massive attack against the peaceful Federation's borders. First Speaker Ray stood before the Council, his blue skin pale with worry. 3 mining colonies have fallen. The Grey Fleet's technology surpasses our defensive capabilities. Our peaceful society has never faced such aggression. The council chamber erupted in panic. Species from 1,000 worlds debated solutions, but their peaceful civilization had forgotten the art of warfare. Their defensive systems, designed for protection against natural disasters and accidents, proved useless against dedicated weapons of war. There might be one solution. Observer May spoke up, her voice cutting through the chaos. The humans. Silence fell across the chamber. Senior council member Allen rose from his seat. The species that sees weapons in everything. We haven't even decided if they're safe to join our federation. Exactly, May responded. They see possibilities we don't. Maybe that's what we need right now. Hours of debate followed, but desperation won out. The council reached out to Earth, and within days, a small team of human military advisors arrived at the front lines. Their leader, Colonel Mark, surveyed the situation with experienced eyes. "Show me everything you have," he requested, standing before the massive holographic display of the battlefield. "Not just your defensive systems, everything. Mining equipment, maintenance tools, transportation systems, everything." The alien commanders looked confused but complied. As images of their technology floated before them, Mark's eyes lit up with recognition. "Your mining lasers, they're more powerful than the Grey Fleet's shields, aren't they?" he asked. "Yes," replied the alien engineer Pete, "but they're for cutting through asteroid rock, not for—" He stopped, suddenly understanding. Mark nodded. "And these maintenance drones, they can operate in any environment." "Of course," Pete answered. "They need to repair ships in all conditions, but they could also deliver explosive payloads," Mark finished. "Your cargo transporters, they use gravity manipulation." The aliens watched in amazement as Mark saw military applications in their everyday technology that they had never considered. Within hours, he had drafted initial plans to convert their industrial infrastructure into a defensive network. Some council members objected, horrified at turning their peaceful technology to warfare. But as another colony fell to the Grey Fleet, they realized they had no choice. "We don't want to fight," Mark explained to the council. "But sometimes you have to defend yourself. The good news is you already have everything you need. You just never looked at it the way we do." The first test of their converted technology came sooner than expected. A Grey Fleet battle group attacked the mining colony of New Hope. They expected to find the same weak defenses they had encountered before. Instead, they found mining lasers repurposed into defensive arrays. Maintenance drones now carried electronic warfare packages. Cargo transporters used their gravity manipulation to disrupt enemy formations. The peaceful aliens, guided by human advisors, had turned their everyday technology into an effective defensive system. The Grey Fleet ships retreated, caught completely off guard by the transformation. Their reports back to their command were filled with confusion. How had the peaceful Federation developed such capabilities so quickly? In the council chambers, First Speaker Ray watched the battle recordings with mixed emotions. "It's remarkable," he admitted. "In days, you showed us how to turn our existing technology into an effective defense system. But doesn't this change who we are? A peaceful Federation." Colonel Mark shook his head. "Being peaceful doesn't mean being defenseless. Look at how we adapted your technology. Not to attack, but to protect. That's the key difference." The council members began to understand. The humans hadn't brought weapons of war. They had shown them how to see their existing technology in a new light. It wasn't about creating weapons. It was about recognizing that anything could be used to protect what you care about. As more reports came in of Grey Fleet forces retreating from converted mining colonies, the Council realized that humanity's unique perspective might be exactly what their peaceful Federation needed to survive in a not-so-peaceful galaxy. Inside the converted research station, Chief Engineer Steve worked alongside alien technicians, transforming their peaceful technology into defensive systems. The massive space station, once dedicated to scientific research, now served as humanity's innovation center for the war effort. "Look at this," Steve said, pointing to a holographic display of a standard cargo shuttle. These electromagnetic clamps used for securing containers. With minor modifications, they can disrupt the Gray Fleet's shield frequencies. The alien technician Bill stared in amazement. "But they're just for holding cargo in place during transport. They generate the same type of field that interferes with their shield systems," Steve explained, making quick modifications to the shuttle systems. "We're not building weapons. We're just using what we already have differently." Across the station, teams of humans and aliens work together, each discovery leading to another innovation. In the testing chamber, weapons specialist Kate examined the aliens' atmospheric processors, used to make hostile planets habitable. "These terraforming machines," she mused, "they can change a planet's atmosphere. What if we reverse the process?" Her alien colleagues watched as she reprogrammed one unit. "Instead of making the air breathable, we can make a localized area temporarily unbreathable. Non-lethal, but effective for defense." The aliens' initial horror at weaponizing their peaceful technology gradually turned to fascination. They began to see their own creations in a new light, understanding that defensive capabilities often lay hidden in the most ordinary devices. In another section, communications expert Dan worked with the aliens' entertainment systems. "Your holographic displays for children's stories," he said. "They can project images anywhere, right?" His alien partner, Tim, nodded. "Yes, for interactive storytelling." "Perfect." Dan grinned. "We can use them to create false targets, confuse their targeting systems. The Gray Fleet won't know what's real and what's just a story." The innovation spread quickly throughout the Federation. Mining colonies converted their excavation equipment into defensive shields. Research stations turned their scanners into early warning systems. Even civilian vessels found their everyday systems repurposed for protection. But the most surprising breakthrough came from the most unlikely source. In the station's recreation area, Steve noticed an alien child playing with a popular toy, a small device that created bubbles of hardened air for jumping games. He stopped, watching the child bounce safely inside the protective bubbles. "Can these bubbles hold any shape?" he asked the supervising alien. "Of course," replied the supervisor, Paul. "They're designed to be safe for children of all species." Steve's eyes lit up. "Get me the technical specs for these toys. I think we just found our answer to their boarding parties." Within days, modified versions of the children's toy were installed on Federation ships. When the Gray Fleet next attempted to board a civilian vessel, they found themselves trapped in bubbles of hardened air, their weapons useless against the child's safe barriers. The Gray Fleet's frustration grew with each encounter. Their reports became increasingly confused. Cargo shuttles that disrupted their shields, children's toys that trapped their soldiers, and entertainment systems that fooled their sensors. Back at the research station, First Speaker Ray visited to observe the progress. He found Steve working on yet another modification, this time to their food preparation units. "I must admit," Ray said, "when we first met humans, we feared your ability to see weapons in everything. Now I understand. It's not about creating weapons, it's about seeing all possibilities." Steve looked up from his work. "Exactly. Everything has multiple uses. The key is choosing the right use at the right time. Right now, we're choosing to use these things for defense." As if to prove his point, an alert sounded. A Gray Fleet scout ship had been detected nearby. The station's newly modified systems activated. Research scanners tracked its movement, entertainment projectors created false targets, and atmospheric processors made approach impossible. The scout ship retreated, likely confused by how a simple research station had repelled it without firing a single traditional weapon. Ray watched the ship flee. "Perhaps," he said thoughtfully, Seeing weapons in everything also means seeing protection in everything. We just needed someone to show us how to look. The tide of war had shifted dramatically. 3 months after humans began helping the Federation, the Grey Fleet found themselves facing an enemy they couldn't understand. Every attack they launched was countered by familiar technology used in unfamiliar ways. On the bridge of their flagship, Grey Fleet Commander Axe slammed his fist against his command chair. The latest battle reports showed another failed attack, this time against what should have been an easy target, a small farming colony. How? He growled. How are they doing this? We scan for weapons, find nothing but civilian technology, and yet we cannot win. His tactical officer brought up a holographic display showing their latest defeat. Sir, they're using their own food preservation fields as defensive barriers. The same technology that keeps their crops fresh is now stopping our energy weapons. In another sector of space, a Grey Fleet assault force approached a Federation mining outpost. Their scanners showed minimal defenses, just standard mining equipment and waste disposal units. They moved in confidently, only to have their engines suddenly clogged with rapidly hardened construction foam, sprayed from repurposed waste disposal systems. This is impossible. The assault team's leader reported back. They're using construction materials as weapons. Our ships are stuck. Meanwhile, at the Federation's new Defense Command Center, Steve and his team monitored the successes of their innovations. Screens showed Grey Fleet ships retreating from various locations, each defeat caused by some new adaptation of everyday technology. They're learning, Steve noted, watching another battle replay. They're starting to hesitate before attacking, even small outposts. They never know what ordinary object might be turned against them. His alien colleague Bill nodded. Yesterday, they retreated from an agricultural station when they detected active food replicators. They thought we had weaponized them somehow. He paused. Had we? Steve grinned. Not yet, but thanks for the idea. The most significant victory came when a human engineer named Mike found a way to use children's anti-gravity playground equipment as a ship immobilization system. When a Grey Fleet battle group attacked a civilian habitat, they found their ships caught in localized anti-gravity fields, tumbling helplessly in space. These humans, a captured Grey Fleet officer later reported to his superiors, they're different from any species we've encountered. We can't predict what they'll use next. Everything is a potential weapon to them. The Grey Fleet's tactical meetings became increasingly frustrated. Their traditional military approach, based on overwhelming force and superior weaponry, proved useless against an enemy that could turn playground equipment into defensive systems and food preservers into shield generators. Sir, one of Axe's advisors reported, our troops are becoming hesitant to engage. They're starting to see threats in everyday objects. Yesterday, a squad retreated because they saw a cleaning robot. Was it weaponized? Axe demanded. No, sir. It was just cleaning. But they couldn't be sure. This psychological effect proved as powerful as the actual innovations. Grey Fleet soldiers began to fear ordinary objects, never knowing which might be transformed into a defensive system. Their morale dropped as they faced an enemy that could seemingly turn anything into a weapon. In the Federation's council chambers, First Speaker Ray presented the latest victory reports. The Grey Fleet is retreating from multiple sectors. Their attacks have decreased by 70%, and we've achieved this without building a single traditional weapon. Observer May added, they're not just losing battles, they're losing their confidence. Every civilian object has become a potential threat in their minds. They see danger in everything now, just as they once accused humans of doing. The council members watched as another report came in. A Grey Fleet battle group had retreated from an unarmed medical station, simply because they couldn't be sure what ordinary medical equipment might have been repurposed to defend it. Perhaps, Ray concluded, the humans' greatest contribution wasn't showing us how to turn things into weapons, but teaching us how to see the potential in everything around us. The Grey Fleet fears this because they can only see things one way, their way. The Federation had learned that true strength lay not in having the most powerful weapons, but in having the creativity to see new possibilities in everything. In the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Federation, representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered to witness something unprecedented. The Grey Fleet, the most feared military force in known space, had requested peace talks. Commander Axe stood before the Federation Council, his once proud stance now hesitant. First Speaker Ray and Colonel Mark sat across from him, their table filled with ordinary objects: a pen, a drinking glass, and a datapad. Axe's eyes kept darting between these simple items, and everyone noticed his discomfort. Our military analysts have completed their study of the past 6 months, he began, his voice carefully controlled. We've come to understand something about humans, and by extension, the Federation's new approach. He paused, looking directly at Mark. You've never built a single weapon to defeat us. You just showed them. He gestured to the alien council members, how to use what they already had. Mark picked up the pen from the table, causing several Grey Fleet officers to flinch. He smiled gently. Everything has multiple purposes. We simply helped our friends see new possibilities in familiar things. Observer May stepped forward, holding up records of the conflict. Our research shows that actual combat engagements dropped by 90% in the final month. Most Grey Fleet forces retreated before contact, unsure what civilian technology might have been repurposed for defense. First Speaker Ray nodded. You attacked our mining colonies, so we turned mining lasers into defensive arrays. You threatened our civilian transports, so we converted cargo holds into shield generators. Each time you attacked, we adapted what we had. But how? One of Axe's officers burst out. How do you look at a child's toy and see a defense system? How do you take a food preserver and turn it into a weapon? That's where you're wrong, Mark replied calmly. We don't see weapons everywhere. We see possibilities everywhere. Sometimes those possibilities include defense, but they also include creation, protection, and innovation. Axe straightened his posture. The Grey Fleet has always believed that superior weapons meant superior strength. You've shown us that true power lies in adaptability and creativity. The peace treaty was surprisingly simple. The Grey Fleet would withdraw to their original territories, and in exchange, the Federation would share their new innovations, not the defensive modifications, but the original peaceful technologies that had proven so adaptable. As the documents were being prepared, Axe approached Mark privately. Your species frightened us at first, he admitted. We thought a race that could see weapons in everything must be naturally violent. Now we understand. You don't see weapons, you see tools, and tools can be used for many purposes. Mark smiled. Would you like to know the greatest irony? He asked, gesturing to the peaceful assembly hall. This room. On Earth, places like this were sometimes converted into emergency hospitals during crisis. Even a place of politics can become a place of healing if needed. Axe's eyes widened with this new realization. It never stops with you, does it? This ability to see new purposes in everything. That's humanity's real gift to the galaxy, Mark replied. Not showing you how to turn things into weapons, but teaching you how to see the full potential in everything around you. As the peace treaty was signed, using the same pen that had made the Grey Fleet officers nervous earlier, the galaxy began to understand that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their ability to make weapons out of anything. It was their ability to see every object's full spectrum of possibilities, from creation to destruction, from war to peace. 1 year after the peace treaty, the Galactic Federation had changed remarkably. Humanity had finally been accepted as full members, but their role had evolved far beyond what anyone expected. In the Federation's central learning hub on Alpha Station, a human teacher named Mike stood before a mixed class of alien youngsters. The classroom walls displayed holograms of various everyday objects, tools, toys, and household items. Today's lesson isn't about turning things into weapons, Mike explained, picking up a simple drinking glass. It's about seeing the full potential in everything around us. A young alien student raised his hand. "But Teacher Mike, isn't that what made humans famous? Seeing weapons in everything." Mike smiled, holding the glass up to the light. "Watch this," he said, placing the glass near a small sound projector. By adjusting its position, the glass amplified the sound, creating beautiful musical notes. The children gasped in wonder. "We can use this same glass to drink, to amplify sound, to catch small insects, to look at distant objects underwater, or yes, in an emergency, as a tool for defense," Mike explained. "The point isn't what it can become. The point is seeing all possibilities." Across the station, in the Innovation Center, human and alien engineers worked together in a new department called Adaptive Technologies. Steve, now the department head, watched as his mixed team transformed outdated equipment into new tools. "Remember," he told a group of visiting officials, "the same thinking that let us turn mining lasers into defensive systems now lets us turn old ship parts into water purifiers for drought-stricken worlds." First Speaker Ray, visiting the station, observed these changes with satisfaction. In the main promenade, he watched aliens and humans shopping together, both species looking at ordinary objects with new appreciation. A small alien child tugged at his parent's sleeve in a store, pointing at a kitchen utensil. "Look, like Teacher Mike showed us, this can be a spoon, or a small shovel for plants, or a mirror to see around corners." The parent, rather than being alarmed, nodded approvingly. "Very good. And what else could it be used for? A musical instrument, or a tool to measure small amounts, or—" Ray smiled at the exchange. The Federation had learned that humanity's gift wasn't about weaponry at all. It was about adaptability, creativity, and seeing the full spectrum of possibilities in everything. In the station's diplomatic wing, Colonel Mark, now serving as Earth's chief representative, met with Observer May. They watched through the window as a Gray Fleet diplomatic ship docked. Once enemies, now partners in cultural exchange. "They're different now," May noted. "The Gray Fleet. They've started implementing innovation centers of their own." Mark nodded. "They finally understood what we were trying to teach. It was never about weapons. It was about seeing potential." As they walked through the station, they passed the newly established Multi-Purpose Innovation Academy, where beings from across the galaxy came to learn human-inspired adaptive thinking. The sign at the entrance read, "Everything has 1,000 uses. Find them all." In the end, humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy wasn't their ability to turn everything into a weapon. It was teaching others to see beyond an object's primary purpose, to understand that anything could be transformed to serve the greater good, whether that meant defense, creation, or innovation. The galaxy had learned that true advancement came not from seeing weapons in everything, but from seeing everything in anything. And as the Federation continued to grow and evolve, this new way of thinking spread among the stars, changing not just how species fought, but how they lived, created, and cooperated. As night fell on Alpha Station, Mike finished his class with a simple demonstration. He took the same drinking glass from earlier and used it to project the classroom's lights into a beautiful rainbow on the wall. "Remember," he told his students, "the most powerful weapon isn't the ability to turn things into weapons. It's the ability to see all the wonderful things anything can become."